Tell me one athlete right now that's been dominating the game for 16 years straight without a loss. Tell me one. Tell me just one.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Ryan and this is Ade, and welcome back to another edition of Box Talk. In a night of WBO title fights, we got Brian Rose versus Demetrius Andrade and Ruslan Provodnikov versus Algieri. Let's just call him Algieri.
Yeah, we're calling him Algieri, not Algeria.
Algieri. It's one of those cards there which looks like we're trying to get names and contenders out there, fill the mandatory spots, but is it an interesting card? Are we going to see any upsets or any spills? Ade?
Look, it is an interesting card, and it's almost a card that, because of it's been sandwiched away, because we've had Carl Froch, George Groves, this week we've got Martinez, Cotto. It's almost a card that's almost like, okay, we're going to put this card in, but it's a big card. It has implications. These might not be household names, but they will be.
Yeah,
the winners will be, because and we'll talk about Demetrius Andrade versus Brian Rose first. I think, and I've looked at Andrade, and I think potentially he's a nightmare. And I'll tell you why I think potentially he's a nightmare. He's 6'1", 6'2", in a division where most of the fighters and contenders are 5'7", 5'8", i.e. Cotto, Alvarez, Lara, Angulo, Trout. They're not big guys. He's a southpaw, nightmare. He's a former amateur world championship gold medalist, Pan American Games silver medalist. 65% KO record. Nightmare. Not yet. Potentially.
Multi-time Golden Gloves winner. Yeah.
There you go.
I think he won the US Nationals as well.
There you go.
And an Olympian.
Beat Keith Thurman.
With over 300 fights. Amateur fights.
Potentially, like I said, we have a nightmare potentially. Yeah. The problem for him, he's in a division where, not because I don't think he could eventually beat the likes of Canelo or Trout or Lara or Mayweather or whatever, Cotto. He's in a division where belts don't really mean much. And we did a video about this a couple of weeks back. How important are belts? Yeah. And you know how important belts are because no one's calling him out for his belt.
Yeah.
We spoke to him recently and he said it like, I'm having to call people out. That kind of says a lot about the belt. Molina's got a belt, an IBF belt. I think Molina's going to fight K9. Yeah, they're talking about. And Mayweather's got a few belts, but Mayweather doesn't seem to want to fight at 154.
Yeah.
So he's in a division where no one knows what's going on.
So do you know anything about Andrade, what people are going to like about him? He's confident, but also a little bit cocky as well.
Yeah, very brash.
He's been calling that for Mayweather fight since he was under 10 fights.
Yeah.
He said, I could beat Mayweather now. I mean, that's confidence.
Yeah.
I like Andrade.
Yeah.
I've been watching him on Friday night fights growing up.
You said.
From the beginning, he was this young Olympian, just watching every fight. I've got all of them on tape, and I said, guess what? This guy's got something.
Yeah.
When he first came out, I thought, little tall, little wiry, little rangy, but bit by bit, he's put it together. He's got a good work rate, fast hands, good balance, and he's also a little bit unorthodox.
Very. He's from nowhere,
Where it's like, it's funny, it's a nice thing to watch, but it's like he knows how to get you out of your game more than anything else. And what I did like as well, when he had his title winning effort against Vance Martinson, he got dropped in the first or second round.
The first round.
First round,
yeah.
And he got back up.
Yeah.
And then won a convincing points decision.
Yeah.
And I know one of the judges had it close, but I don't think
that's why they gave it a
close
split. It wasn't close.
It wasn't close at all. But that just shows you the type of fighter, potential and quality he is. And he sounds quite screwed on.
Yeah, look, he's fighting Brian Rose, and I've been following Brian Rose for a while. I think the first time I actually noticed about Brian Rose is when he got knocked out, believe it or not, because I used to be a Max Maxwell fan. He got knocked out by Max Maxwell. He avenged it a couple of fights later. So in theory, everyone he's fought, he's beat. He's 25-1. But what I like about him is the way he's gone. He's done it the right way in a sense. He's gone for area titles, gone to English title. He's fought the likes of Prince Aaron, Sam Webb, and he's come through, and now he's fighting. My fear for him is that he's almost jumped onto the fringes of world scene and he's been gut-checked a few times. Yeah. His last 3 fights have been very, very tough. He's been put down, he's got up, he's been put down, he's got up. But he's got through him.
Yeah.
So he's been gut-checked. We're not quite sure what Andrade, yes, he went down against Vance, but we're not quite sure if he's been gut-checked yet. Brian Rose definitely has. I would like to have seen Brian Rose, to me, go for European, Commonwealth before going to this. But it's a mandatory, he's going to go for it.
I tell you, it's one of those fights there where I think Brian Rose will try his best and be in the fight as long as the fight lasts or how long the fight lasts if he doesn't get stopped. But it's one of those fights where I'm thinking it's a 1 or 2 fights too early for him.
Definitely.
Because it's a division where you've got a lot of big names in there. And I said, once you get that world title, if he was to win,
you've got to fight.
You've got to fight them. You've got no mistake. You've got no choice. Whereas Andrade said he wants them now.
Kept calling them out.
And he's proving that he wants to fight them. He fought Freddie Hernandez as well, proving he's another, not a contender, but you know,
it's a name.
It's a name. People know he's been a contender. He was there about 15, top 20, but it's people. It's stepped forwards.
Yeah.
And even like Freddie Hernandez, Brian Rose hasn't seen yet. Yeah. And that's why I wouldn't say concerned, but I don't see his chances as very, very high going to this fight because he's 1-2 fights short.
I think the problem for Brian Rose is that he knocked out Vivian Harris. He knocked out Vivian Harris about 4 or 5 fights ago. All that was a faded Vivian Harris, it's a name on the record. Yeah. That almost accelerated his growth a bit. People thought, okay, you knocked out Vivian Harris, you can go and you can get onto elite level. And I think that's the problem. It's a problem with a lot of British fighters.
What I don't like, and it's a thing for all boxing, when you've got a talented fighter like Brian Rose, who's coming up, he's going through the right steps.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, now I feel like he's been jumped a step.
Yeah.
You know, he could legitimately get that experience, that contendership, and get a legit world title by just taking a little slow. He's young. He's 25. 29. Sorry. 29. He's still young. He's not old yet. I mean, he could actually get there and do certain things, but I think he's just a tad too far. Yeah. And like I said, he's up against a tremendous talent.
Yeah.
The substance ain't there yet. It hasn't been proven. But like we said, he's a tremendous talent.
Yeah. See, the thing for me, and you guys will kind of get where I'm going when I say this. Eddie Hearn looked fantastic promoter. We seen what he done with George Groves Froch. Fantastic promoter. I think he's done a lot for British boxing. But there's something about, and I'll name the names and you guys will know what I'm talking about. Gavin Rees, Lee Purdy, not so much Tony Bellew, but you see where I'm going with this. It's like these guys, they get world title shots. As a promoter, you're supposed to get your guy as much money as you can and world title shots. But sometimes there's almost this thing about sending them over to America, not to get beat, that's wrong, but to a position where you know it's very, very, very difficult. But for Eddie Hearn, it'll be a tick on the box. I got a world title shot, and he's made some money.
That's
I don't like that.
I understand your point. I agree with your point to a point, but it's a fine line. You can't tell someone, "I'm going to turn down your biggest payday ever."
Yeah, because it might not come again. It might not come again.
You can't tell someone, "Look, you're going to make 6 figures." But I'm going to keep it because you ain't ready yet. Yeah. Now, I mean, you can't give people opportunity. People have got mortgages and bills to pay, and that's their job in their career. And as a fighter, they will know the risk. If I fight a weak guy, I might lose. He might get caught. If I fight a tough guy, I might get caught. Let me take the opportunity.
Yeah. All right, look, who wins? How do they win?
I'm going with Andrade by mid to late round stoppage. And it's not that I think Andrade is a bigger puncher. I don't think he's a better all-rounder overall. I think Brian Rose will be tough. Yeah. We'll try and we'll definitely put it on Andrade and see if he's got what he's got. But I'm going with a more experienced seasoned talent, not more experienced seasoned fighter.
Good point. Look, I like Rose, and I also like Andrade. In terms of Andrade's opposition and Rose's opposition, they're not too far apart in terms of who they fought. But Ryan's right, and Andrade probably is a special talent, and probably will be a very, very special talent soon. Might even go up to 160. Being 6'1", 6'2", probably it might be struggling the weight. 154 for a guy that tall and that big, you never know. But I'm going Andrade, either late stoppage or kind of a wide decision points. But don't rule out Rose. I mean, look, he's going there. Like I said, he's been gut checked, he's been put down, he knows how to get back up again. But the only problem is that was in Blackpool, that was at home. He's going to the States now, it's a different ballgame over here. The pressure's on. I think Andrade late or points. Moving on very quickly. Ruslan Provodnikov's fighting. Let's talk about
Algieri. Okay. I think Ruslan Provodnikov is, again, another stable from Friday Night Fights, which is my favourite show.
Yeah.
Friday Night Fights, you watch Provodnikov all day coming up and going through the rankings.
Bit wild back in the day.
Yeah. Wild as hell. Still is wild as well. But I think he's the worst nightmare for anyone from 140 pounds to 147.
I'll say keep going to 154.
He's the worst nightmare, yeah? He does not care what your name is. You don't care how fast, how strong, or what type of legend you are. He's coming to kick your ass. Yeah. With every punch known to man, from every angle, with the world's wildest aggression. He's just on you.
Yeah. Look,
and I'm sorry to cut you off. And that's the reason why he's not getting no fights. That's the reason why pound for pound elite like Marquez are saying, hell no. You can't pay me enough for this.
Well, no, you're right. Look, he's lost 2 fights. Herrera, and people might know the name, that was the guy that gave Danny Garcia huge problems in Puerto Rico recently. So no really shame in that.
Yeah.
Since he's gone to Freddie Roach, then obviously, I think people forget, the fight against Bradley was at 147. He stepped up in weight to win for that fight. And in my eyes, and a lot of people's eyes, he won that fight. But even if he didn't think he'd win, Bradley hasn't been right since.
Yeah.
That's fact.
Yeah.
Bradley has now turned into a slugger. Yeah. Bradley was a good little boxer before. Bradley's now turned into this slugger. Hasn't looked right since. Provodnikov gave him a beating that he'll probably never forget. And you're right, Provodnikov isn't going to get fights. Yeah. He's that kind of guy, he's not going to get fights. The only way he gets fights is if, and that's another video, if Golden Boy come together with Top Rank and he fights someone like Lucas Batiste, that will fight him. He's not getting fights.
I tell you, people remind me of back in there, remind me of a young Michael Katsidis.
Yes.
Yeah? He's just a powerful, even
stronger, I think.
But I think
Katsidis has got better movement.
Yeah, I think Provodnikov's got better jab.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got better jab.
But what it is, it takes one of those real classical amateur boxers like Joel Casamayor, who schooled Katsidis to beat someone like Provodnikov. Yeah. You need to be strictly 100% boxing. Forget power, it's all about skill and making look sloppy. The problem is, not many people in boxing has a type of skill as a Joel Casamayor did.
See, the thing is, and it's weird, because the guy that turned the fight down, Marquez 4 or 5 years ago would have been that guy. Yeah. Marquez would have been that counter puncher, beautiful. Obviously, the Marquez now has almost turned into a slugger himself, and you can't slug with Provodnikov. Yeah. But in saying that, he's fighting a guy that's 5'11". Now Algieri he's unbeaten. Yeah. He's come from a kickboxing background, so no real amateur record, but he's beaten a few cats.
He fought Mike Akanutis, who was a former contender as well back in the day. Good fighter, kind of fell off the track now. But this is a guy. He's seeing Provodnikov like this. This guy is a marquee name.
If I beat him,
and as a fighter coming up, you've got to roll the dice. Yeah. So for Provodnikov, as much as a top 10 contender, he's actually a gatekeeper. Yeah. Because now the top guys are going to want to fight him. Only the guys coming up who want to take a risk for a good payday and try and get him to that elite level is going to fight him.
Yeah, and we've seen recently, look, Adonis Stevenson from Farah, for example, is a good example of where he's supposed to be a blowout, supposed to run through, and we saw from Farah give him hell. Yeah. So I'm not going to rule out him, Algieri, yet. No. But to me, Provodnikov's at this stage now where Ryan's right. We're talking not maybe a year from now, we're talking about elite level. I think he's just on the fringes, and not because he's not good enough, because he's not proven because no one wants to fight him.
Exactly.
But we're talking about a year from now. He's with Freddie Roach. He's training. He's sparring Cotto. He's sparring Pacquiao. They said, honestly, a year from now, we've got something special.
Let's give you an example of how people are ducking Provodnikov. You've got 140 and 147, which are two of the most stacked divisions in boxing right now.
And he's fighting Algieri.
And he can't get no one ranked in the top 20
and he's got
or 25.
And he's got a belt.
In both weights combined.
No one wants anything to do with him.
There you go.
It is frightening. I mean, the only person that kind of said, I'll fight him is Rios.
Yeah.
And you know, that'll be a good little fight.
That'll be a very good fight, but I think Rios...
I think Rios is... I don't think Rios has got enough boxing skill. I don't think Rios is as powerful as Provodnikov.
No, it's not. I don't think he's either. I think Rios knows what type of fights he's good for. And that's a fight that's good for him. If he gets in the ring with a boxer, he's going to get outboxed.
Okay, very quickly. Do I need to ask you who's winning and how they win?
Provodnikov by KO sometime. Or TKO, but I'm going for a knockout.
Yeah, I'm going Provodnikov knockout, or literally a white towel, big towel, flag, white, anything comes in the ring to save this guy.
Yeah, it's not going points.
It's not going points. But look, guys, what do you think? We've got 2 fights, both WBO titles. Have we sold the other guys cheap here? We've got Andrade against Rose. We think that'll be a tight fight, but Andrade wins. Provodnikov, we think, is going to steamroll this guy. And it's no disrespect to Algieri, we think Provodnikov is that good. So sometimes when you come up against someone that good, it isn't because you're that bad, it's because the other guy's a lot better. But what do you think? 2 WBO titles on the line. This is the kind of card that's probably been, in a sense, kind of been hidden because of Miguel Cotto Martinez and Froch Groves, but it's still a very, very good card. Leave your comments below. Tell us who you think win. If they do win, what rounds do they win? KOs? We want to know. Email us at
BoxTalk@hotmail.co.uk, and please follow us on Twitter at BoxTalkUK, and please don't forget to subscribe.
And guys, don't forget, for your latest boxing news, check out ringnews24.com, and thanks for tuning in for another edition of Box Talk.